Rodriguez set. His pitch, a swing, little roller to first, breaking for home the runner. Devers' throw, not in time. Zawinski in with a head-first dive, and that is how the game ends.
Here's your host, Dieter Kurtenbach.
What do you say after a loss like that? How do you rally after something like that? I know that there's still 2 months of baseball to be played, and I know that Logan Webb is on the hill tomorrow, and I know that eventually we'll forget about this game. But I don't know when that time is coming, and I think this one's going to sting for quite a while because that is the 2025 Giants season in a nutshell. There it is. Torture goes both ways, and the highs that we saw with this team in April and May, here are the lows. Here's the counterbalance, and now this team is under balance at 56 and 57. 808 KNBR is the number if you want to just sound off. I don't even have a problem. If you just want to yell about this baseball team, 808 KNBR is the number. We're here for you this evening until 9 p.m. Dieter Kurtenbach hanging out with you. It's been a minute. Happy to be back. We call this the West Coast offense because we're not afraid who gets offended on this one. We're going all in every night so long as they'll have me. And who knows, tonight might be the last night. This was brutal. I can't even say it was awful. I can't say that it was horribly mismanaged. I can't point to anything and just go, there's your problem. It was just death by paper cuts, baseball edition. Torture in opposite direction. You have Randy Rodriguez on the mound, and I know it's a new role for him, and I understand that those roles going from a guy that they would just throw in, Bob Melvin, throw him in the 6th inning early in the season, 5th inning. Now you're the closer. I get that it's different. You're doing a 4-out save. The guy's got a 1.54 ERA. He's a damn good pitcher. The slider, as FP Santangelo was saying on the broadcast, didn't look sharp tonight. And I don't think he did that bad in executing against Joey Bart, who was all over it the entire at-bat, or on the final at-bat. But when you walk the leadoff guy, when it's 2 on early, and then Bart is just, again, all over it, gets the tying run home, setting up almost like a suicide squeeze on the final at-bat. It's a brutal loss. It shouldn't have come to this. Zach Zawinski hitting one. He has like 3 hits all year. There's number 4. Home run to make it 4-3, and then they rally in the 9th to get the win. The Giants are now 4-0 against the Pirates. The flippin' Pirates are this team's bugaboo. The Pirates, a team so bad people don't even think about them. The Giants can't beat them. There's your season, folks. And if you didn't already know it was over, I really feel sorry for you. Or I'm actually very happy for you because you weren't watching Giants baseball as of late. But it's over. It's over. Here's the number you need to think about. They got 49 games left. You have to get to 90 wins. 90 is the most conservative estimate to get a wild card spot in the National League. It's probably going to be 91, 92, maybe even 93. Someone gets hot. And maybe the Giants get hot, right? I'm not seeing a lot of evidence that that's going to happen, but you never know. Baseball's a mysterious sport, and this is a deeply mysterious baseball team. They have 49 games left. They need to get to 90 wins. That means they have to go 34 and 15 the rest of the way. Just let that marinate for a second. Let that sit with you for a moment. 34 and 15. They have to be 19 games over 500. Nope. Not going to happen. And we knew that. But when you lose a game like this one, when you stifle maybe a bit of momentum, they win a series in New York, things are maybe turning around. They run the starting pitcher in the first inning of this game, and they still lose because their offense is anemic. Thank God for Jung-Hoo Lee tonight. And because their bullpen is not what it was. Not that it ever was going to be. And I'm not blaming Buster at all for trading Camilo Doval and moving on from Rogers. I'm not blaming him at all. Those are good moves. You had a position of strength on a bad baseball team. Might as well get something for it. But they're bringing in Spencer Bivens in the 8th. Yeah, so the guy who was pitching in the 5th and the 6th, incorrectly, I should know, incorrectly, but the guy who was pitching in the 5th and the 6th, early, the setup man to the setup man to the setup man, Randy Rodriguez early in the year, is now your closer. And the mop-up guy, Spencer Bivens, who's just sort of the last dude on the roster, or at least he was much earlier this season, is now pitching the 8th. What are we doing here? I have some serious questions on why Bivens was in there and why Ryan Walker is apparently not trustworthy in any way, shape, or form. I understand that Walker isn't good. He lost the closer job like 4 times in a row. Why isn't he pitching the 8th tonight? That's not the reason they lost this game. I hate to put it all on Bob, but there were 2 really strange decisions that, again, aren't the reason they lost. But when you have a bunch of other things go wrong, then these things add into it, and it all turns into a really bad loss. So not just I know you brought up Bivens in the 7th, thinking you might need him to get out of the inning, and then instead of bringing in Walker, who pitched yesterday, because apparently can't pitch back-to-back days anymore, they keep Bivens in for the 8th. Okay. Is what it is. Is what it is. Don't love that. Would have preferred Walker. Then you don't have to go 4-out save with Randy. Maybe that changes the outcome. Galaxy brain thought. Here's another just strange one. And again, Rafael Devers did not make a bad play at first base there. The throw was a little high. I'm not sure a perfect throw would have got him, but it would have given him a better shot than the throw he did make, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Rafi Devers is at first. We all know that's a wild experiment. It's an experiment worth partaking in at this juncture, right? What are you playing for? Are you really going 34-15? You're not going to the playoffs. Get Rafi Devers as much time at first base as possible. You don't need anybody else over at first. You need Rafi Devers to get reps because he's probably your first baseman along with Bryce Eldridge next year. And those 2 guys are switching off. So you need to get him practice at a position he's never played before. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's awful, like on a pick play he had today. I think it will get better with time. It should be noted he was the worst third baseman in baseball, which is why they moved him to DH and signed Alex Bregman in Boston. But I think he's been more bad than good at first, but better than maybe. He's not been disastrous. Let's put it that way. There was that one disastrous game. He has not been disastrous overall. You see some nice things. And again, he made a fine enough play at first to close this game. But wouldn't you have rather had Casey Schmidt there at first? I know Casey Schmidt's not a classic first baseman. I know he isn't, but he's a hell of a fielder. The dude took to second base and looks great there. And that's a conversation, that's a positive conversation that we can have. I think Casey Schmidt is making a strong case to be the everyday second baseman next year. I love the glove, and the bat is really coming along. Casey Schmidt should be on the major league roster all of next year, if not as a utility infielder, as the team's starting second baseman. But in the 9th inning, Bob Melvin decided we're going to put in Koss at second base. And it's just somewhat of a bizarre decision, given that Casey Schmidt has been hitting the ball well, given that Casey Schmidt has certainly defended well. Like, I don't think you need a defensive replacement at second base in the 9th inning. But Bob Melvin thought he did. If you want to throw in Koss, if you want to give Koss, I don't know, an inning of work, like it's mop-up duty at the end of the bench in the NBA, if you want to give him the inning of work, that's fine. Move Schmidt to first. Give Schmidt an inning at first base. Because I'd prefer Casey Schmidt, someone who I know has a great glove, trying to make that play, because maybe he does make the perfect throw. Maybe that throw's even beats him there because he's a step or 2 ahead. But Devers is playing first, and everything he does is done with hesitation because he has no practice there. And the practice will come through playing the rest of the season. The 49 games, he'll be at first, a bunch of them. I don't think losing an inning there, trying to win a baseball game, trying to get some positive momentum going so that when we talk about, they only have to go 33-16 to get to 90 to give themselves a slightly more reasonable ask at this thing. I don't think losing an inning of Rafi Devers at first base in a critical situation would have been the end of the world. If you're going to do a defensive substitution, maybe take out the guy who doesn't know what he's doing at first base yet, instead of the guy who's at second base. And yes, it's a new position to him, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. Again, those two things aren't the reasons why the Giants lost this game. They give up a home run, 100 miles per hour off the bat. I mean, barely got out. And then Randy didn't have his A stuff tonight. And there's a bunch of other, they don't take advantage in the first inning. They can't load up as the game goes along. And the Pirates are throwing out a god-awful bullpen, and the Giants aren't taking advantage of it. They're just not. And again, thank goodness for Jung-Hoo Lee in that triple. Otherwise, this game wouldn't have been interesting. But my goodness, how many different micro ways can you lose a baseball game on a single night? How many small things can you do wrong in a row before it bites you in the rear? I guess we have the answer. It's how many the Giants did tonight. 808 KNBR is the number. Get in if you need to. We're going to come back on the other side and take your calls. Kurtenbach with you until 9 p.m. on the Sports Leader.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at odfigroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
Well, the Giants lose their fourth straight game to the Pittsburgh Pirates, so we will take your calls next, only here on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
He comes set. Now the pitch. Bart swings, lines it over the leaping Adames at short and into left center. Ramos cuts it off. Around third, scoring is Canario. The throw to third, not in time. Zawinski slides in safely. Joey Bart ties the game in the bottom of the ninth.
It's got to feel good for Joey Bart. It really does. Credit where it's due, man. That was a hell of an at-bat. He was all over Randy Rodriguez. Couldn't fool him. And he delivered. That's got to feel good for Joey Bart. It stings just a smidge extra for the Giants that Joey Bart was part of their demise this evening. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's try to make sense of whatever the hell just happened here. Dan, you're on Sportsphone KNBR. How you doing this evening, Dan?
Great, Dieter. How you doing? Dan, NorCal Sports Network. Good to talk to you, my friend.
Dan. Hey, good to talk to you as well.
Hey,
how am I doing? I'm not doing great, Dan. I'm not doing great.
Oh, man, I tell you, this is a hard team to watch, Dieter. This game, in my opinion, was lost in the top of the first. You had bases loaded with nobody out, and Chapman hitting cleanup comes up and strikes out on 3 pitches. With 2 strikes, he's got to learn to shorten up his swing and just make contact. He keeps swinging for the fences. Jung-Hoo Lee tried to, instead of making contact, he swings, he lifts his head, his bat goes, uppercut, strikes out, and then Bailey, what do you expect? He strikes out. Lee striking out was unusual. I'm not going to get on Lee. He had a good night. But here's my issue with this team, and I've been saying this for 2 years. They've got a lineup full of K artists. About 6 of their players strike out 25% of the time. And what do? They send down Matos, who doesn't strike out a lot, and they bring up McRae, who struck out 32% of the time in AAA. Look, yeah. McRae's got talent, but at some point you've got to have a few contact hitters in the lineup. You can't have 6+ guys striking out 25% of the time. And the last thing I'll say is, they really don't have a true cleanup hitter. But at this point, I feel more comfortable with Casey batting 4th and Chapman batting 6th. Casey is going up there and making pitchers throw pitches. He's taking walks. He's making contact. Like I said, he's not the cleanup guy, but Chapman certainly is not. Chapman has 80 RBIs one time in his entire career, which was 2019, which was the juice ball season.
Yeah.
So for a guy in the middle of the order not to be able to drive in 80 runs.
Chapman should probably be batting 5th or 6th, and when he's hot, he should be batting 2nd. He is a streaky hitter. There's a lot of these guys in baseball. It seems like everybody in baseball is a streaky hitter. But when he's on a hot streak, it's as good as anybody in baseball. The problem is he's not consistent with it. And when he's up, he's all the way up. And when he's down, he's all the way down. I think he broke an 0 for 21 today. So I'm with you. Putting him in a premier spot in the lineup religiously is foolhardy. Now, again, who's going to replace him? I would like to see Bob Melvin be a bit more experimental with the lineups. You see that a bit at the top. And certainly at the bottom where he's trying to mix and match some guys to get good matchups, but nobody's sacred here, right? If Willy Adames isn't hitting, bat him 7th. If he's on a good one or you like the matchup, bat him 3rd. It doesn't matter because there's not that much difference between the good and the bad on this team, and it's probably mostly bad. Listen, I'm with you on the strikeouts thing. I'll note this. I remember reading when Jung-Hoo Lee was coming back, there was a lot of puff about Jung-Hoo. Who's, by all accounts, a great guy and plays a beautiful center field and is an asset to this baseball team, but is still figuring out the major leagues, it should be noted. He has 144 major league games. I remember reading something to the effect of, and it was a quote from a Giants player, an anonymous Giants player, we'd be shocked if he struck out 30 times a year. Well, he's already struck out 47 times this year in 107 games, which for anybody else seems like not very much, but for the guy who's supposed to not strike out, it's actually quite a bit. And they feel they feel like they always come at really bad times. Again, don't want to get on him the same way you don't want to get on him tonight because he had the triple, and that's the reason they had a chance to win this game. On your final note here, Dan, it was your first point, and I got to agree with you, and I really appreciate the call. This team is hard to watch. I just got back from a month-long trip, right? So my wife is Scottish. We go to Scotland every July to go see her family. I don't see the sun for a month. It is both great and awful at the same time. I came back, and for the first time in a long time, and I got two little kids. I got a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old, and we traveled to Europe with them. You're basically just parenting in a different country with none of your creature comforts. It's a tough gig. That's not to complain. Love my kids, love the situation. We had a great time. But I came back and I felt lighter. And I wasn't physically lighter because I ate like crap the whole time. I felt lighter, and I'm like, man, why do I feel so unencumbered? And it's because I wasn't watching the Giants every night. This team is bad for my health, is what I found out. And tonight is a great case in point onto why I probably need to go to the doctor more often. And I probably need to watch what I eat more. And I should probably exercise. Maybe I should just exercise while I watch the game so I counteract the negative effects that's happening to my blood pressure while watching the San Francisco Giants, because you ain't kidding, Dan. This team is aggravating. And on a night when everything was lined up perfectly for them, right? You get Justin Verlander gutting it out. I don't know, inspiring. They called it inspiring. I don't know about that, but you got a good enough start from Justin Verlander, right? And that's never something to be taken for granted with the season that he's had and at 42 years old. You chase the starter in the first inning. You are going against a Pittsburgh bullpen that is dog doo-doo, and you still somehow lose that game. Ugh. I should probably go to the grocery store and stick my arm in that thing that checks my blood pressure. Like I might have an aneurysm on the air. That's where I'm at right now. This team is detrimental to both mine and I presume everybody else's health in the Bay Area right now. And I'm not sure what can happen between now and the end of September for that to change. But I'll tell you this, come October 1 or October, I don't know when the season actually ends. It can't end soon enough. When this season finally ends, I'm probably going to be in a lot better health. I'm probably going to feel a lot better. Hopefully the 49ers are helping us out on that front. Let's go to Carrie in San Ramon. You want to talk bullpen, and we want to talk to you. Carrie, how you doing this evening?
Hey, good night for you to be on, Dieter. I miss your.
I was built for this
take.
moment. Built for this moment.
What was it? Was this an assigned night for you, or you just picked this one?
Oh yeah, no. I have Carrie tied up and locked up in my basement right now, and I've commandeered the airwaves so I could yell. No, it was assigned, and I think Randy Rodriguez knew that.
Well, let's face it. I mean, Camilo Duvall could have done that tonight. So the issue I have, we have so little margin for error, and I'm not going to harp on the manager, but I've seen Melvin before with the A's. And he always, he always just leaves you a little bit short. I mean, why not push Verlander a 6th inning? What is Carson Seymour doing out there? He's given up, in 7 innings? He's given up 5 home runs. So what is he doing out there in a high leverage situation?
Yeah.
And so
I guess they looked at the Pirates and thought this couldn't be high leverage, but they also can't beat the Pirates. So maybe they need to recalibrate that thinking.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, the other move that Melvin made, why is Koss going in for Casey Schmidt? Was Casey Schmidt hurt or something?
Doesn't sound like it. I have no indication that that's the case. Now, I could look like a total ass, which is not going to be the first nor the last time, but it was weird. It was weird.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was just another strange decision from Bob, and I love Bob, but, man, there's a reason he hasn't got a ring, and Bochy's got 4 of them, so... and his gut probably needs to be a little bit bigger because he doesn't know how to manage with his gut. So it's just that. And then Buster is promising us, well, we're going to win it by pitching and defense. So what does he do at the deadline? He trades away pitching and defense. So how can you expect the change to come if you're going to trade away some of your better pitchers and a great defender in right field? Let's see the amateurs go out and play right field like Mike Yastrzemski did, Dieter. It's just amazing how this is such a comedy of errors. And love Buster, but he gets a failing grade right now for everything that he has done.
I'm not willing to go that far, and my skepticism over Buster in this job was, I look back on it now, and I'm giving myself a bit of a pat on the back, right? This is his first go-around, and this is not an easy job, and I frankly would have preferred someone with some experience, but here's the deal. Buster's got experience now, and it's on Buster. He's ownership. He ain't going anywhere, and he has a much longer leash with the fan base, and yourself not included, sounds, and that's A-okay. He's got a long leash with ownership, and you know that there are going to be plenty of people who just, nod their head and say yes to anything that Buster does. That I got no problem with that, because the only thing that matters are the results on the field. But there is some peculiarity, and this was the same thing that really bothered me with Farhan last year, where, he's like, we have the best pitching rotation in baseball. Right? I guess he just needed a soundbite that day, but it's the one that I think doomed him amongst so many other things here in San Francisco, where he goes, we got the best rotation in baseball. And like 2 weeks later, they only have 2 starting pitchers left. And how can you have the best rotation if you don't even have a rotation? This team, they go, yeah, we're going to win it with pitching and defense. I have some skepticism on your pitching and defense model when, again, you're scrounging to find pitchers, just scrounging, looking anywhere for a pitcher right now, and you're playing Rafael Devers at first base. I appreciate the experiment. I can engage in some cognitive dissonance here, and I don't think Devers has been as bad as maybe the highlights would have suggested. But my goodness, like, if you really believe in defense, believe in defense. It's not like anyone's hitting anyway. You're already one of the worst offenses in baseball. You might as well have the best defense out there, and they can't even make that claim now. Though I will note, on a note of positivity, Willy Adames has looked a lot better at short as of late. I'm just trying to find something right now to get excited about for the final 2 months, because it was already a slog, but at least it felt like it had purpose, right? When the season was painful to watch and the Giants were up and down and left and right, and they're winning on little league home runs and inside the park home runs, and the other shoe's going to drop at some point. It was at least not in vain, because they were in the wild card hunt. But they're 6.5 back right now. Again, they're going to have to win 20 more games than they lose for the rest of the season to get to 90. Ain't happening. They got to jump a bunch of teams. And so I guess the thing to look forward to is some of this experimentation. And I mentioned earlier, like, the Casey Schmidt experiment seems to be working, though Bob Melvin might not agree with that, given that he pulled him for defensive purposes in the 9th inning. I can get behind the experiment of Rafi Devers at first base, because if he doesn't play it now, you sure as hell don't want him playing it next year when you might actually be playing for something, right? And this guy wasn't a good third baseman, so maybe we find out if he can play first or not by the end of this season, and we'll have an answer to that question. And then trying out a bunch of different people in right field. Dan mentioned Matos and how Matos doesn't strike out. Well, he doesn't hit either. So I have no problem with them sending down Matos today. McRae deserves a little bit of a longer leash. He had a nice little run last year, but he doesn't get that long of a leash. And the defense it was good last year. I don't think it's spectacular. I don't think he's like a Pete Crow Armstrong out there, though that's a bad example because Pete Crow Armstrong hits. I don't think he's such a good defender that you're willing to ride with it every night. So just keep running through guys in right field. Just keep running them through. If you are standing in the batter's box and looking right, if you are a left-handed hitter and you are pulling the ball, I want you to be hitting it towards 3 Giants that are mixing and matching every night, because that's where the experimentation happens. They talk about the core of this team. The core of this team is on the left side. We might not like it every night, but that's the core. It's Chapman, it's Adames, it's Jung-Hoo Lee in center, and it's Elliot Ramos in left. That's the core of your team, and everything to the right of that from the batter's perspective needs to be experimented upon. So I got no problem with that, but don't be pushing pitching and defense for this team. Push experimentation. Be honest about what's happening here, and that makes nights like these a little bit easier to stomach, because hey, we're working through some stuff. We're finding out some stuff. It's a lost season, but hey, we'll be better for it next year because we're getting all of these growing pains out of the way. Doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier. Jim in Pleasanton, you want to talk pitching? We want to talk to you. How you doing this evening, Jim?
Hey, great. I think the pitching is burnt out. It's finished. I mean,
yep.
It's there are no 20-game winners anymore. A Cy Young Award winner is 15-10. So I think if you're going to experiment, try something completely different. Their starters are not starters. Everybody has openers and closers and all these other things. Put a guy in for 3 innings, goes through the order at one time. Pull him then, put another guy in, 3 innings. Hopefully, you're only going to use a third guy or maybe a closer at the end of the game. Pitch them every fourth day. Right now, they're pitching every 5th day. They finish a game. Maybe they pitch 100 pitches, and they only get through 5 innings. So they're getting wasted. I mean, they're wearing them out, throwing 95 miles an hour. The body can't do that.
I'm with you. Listen, this is a problem that everybody has. And I just mentioned experimentation. This is a great thing to experiment on as we go through, because they're going to be calling up a bunch of randos for the rest of the year to fill out this rotation, because arms won't be able to make it. At a certain point, you're going to look at the rest of the season and say, Logan, Robbie, like, do we want to push you to 180, 190, 200, or do we want to have something in the tank for you next year? Verlander's looking like he's getting on track. I can't trust Justin Verlander on a night in, night out basis. Hopefully that's not the case at the end of the season and you feel better about it going into next year. But everything that you just mentioned, Jim, it's so interesting because the team last year that came out of nowhere to make the playoffs over the last 50 games, which is the juncture we're at right now, was the Detroit Tigers, run by Scott Harris, former assistant general manager of the San Francisco Giants. And they ran out of starting pitchers. They ran out of them. They had Kenta Maeda in the rotation. They demoted him. Reese Olson got injured. Jack Flaherty got traded. They had 2 starters. Now, they had one incredible starter in Tarek Skubal, and they found another one every couple of days. And what they did was they Johnny Holstaffed every damn game for the rest of the year, and they were so good they made the playoffs with that. I think personally, I think the era of the starting pitcher is over. I know that baseball is trying to come back to the more classic realm, and I know that there might be some rules changes that encourage more starting pitching. But in the meantime, I'm down with getting real weird with how you handle your pitching staff on a night in, night out basis. And if that means the guy who's going the longest is going 3 innings, the way that you suggested, the way that the Tigers did it last year, I'm all for it. Now, the other question that I have there is, who the hell are those guys going to be? Right? Who the hell are going to be the guys who give you the 3 innings? Maybe it's Whisenhunt. Maybe it's Tang. Maybe that's it, right? Maybe you go Logan Webb, Robbie Ray at the top. You say, go as long as you can. We'll treat you like normal starters, and everybody else gets an opener. Everybody else gets a 70-pitch maximum, something to that effect, with, some wiggle room, of course. And then you're really trusting the back end of your bullpen. But Randy's your closer now. Randy Rodriguez is your closer now. Ryan Walker simply does not have the trust of Bob Melvin. That is wildly evident because they won't pitch him back-to-back days. They just won't do it. Jose Butto, we don't know anything about him yet. Jose Butto's not necessarily a guy that you slide into the 8th inning there, as far as I can tell. Joey Lucchesi has been good since he's been back, but this is a guy who just got brought up, right? You got Bivens, you know what he's about, Matt Gage, Tristan Beck, Seymour, who I like Seymour's stuff and I like his pedigree, but as an earlier caller noted, the whole thing about I give up a lot of home runs, not conducive to being a pitcher in the major leagues very long. You're probably going to get Landon Root back here pretty soon. Eric Miller sounds like he's around the corner. I don't know if this team's bullpen, as it currently stands, without a Rogers and without a Doval, is good enough to where you can just say build the entire pitching staff out of the bullpen. I don't know where the strength of this team is right now. I know it's not defense. I know it's not hitting. I know it's not starting pitching. And I don't think it's the bullpen anymore. So you're right. They burned out. They have totally burned out. And the problem is I think they've burned out top to bottom. And they need more than one reliever here to step up and say, give me the ball more often. This is my moment, the way that Randy Rodriguez late last year did, the way that, Ryan Walker did before that, where it's hey, opportunity is knocking and I'm going to take it and I'm going to become the guy down the stretch. And you need 2 or 3 of those guys to say, hey, I'm going to be your rubber arm dude. Pitch me every day. I'm not sure with the way that baseball teams are structured today, or specifically how this baseball team is structured, it can work. But I'm willing to experiment with that because at least we'll find something out, right? At least that could create a new outcome. Continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results than the 500 baseball the Giants have been playing, or the much worse than 500 baseball the Giants have been playing over the last couple weeks and months, that's the definition of insanity. And this team is indeed driving me insane. Sounds like they're driving you insane too. Speaking of insanity, maybe we just talk about Jonathan Kuminga on the other side, because that whole situation has me. Actually, I have an answer on the Jonathan Kuminga situation. I'll share it with you on the other side of the break. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on the Sports Leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sportsphone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Felt like we could have done a little more damage in the first. But then after that, you're seeing a different guy. You know, they both go, 2+ or whatever. We drew some walks. We just couldn't get some big hits at the time. You know, you have to cash in on those opportunities. You know, we did get 3 hits. We were 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position, but we only score, the 4 runs. So there were chances to add on. But again, that's a game we usually finish off.
No, they don't. No, they don't. This team doesn't usually do anything. This team is totally unpredictable. This team is volatile. They don't usually do anything. There's nothing usual about this baseball team. And you're right, Bob. It did get away from you in the first inning. And all shucks, we'll get them tomorrow. Maybe. What carries forward day to day on this baseball team right now? Again, what are they good at? What is this baseball team good at? What can you hang your hat on? Can't hang your hat on the veterans, right? They talk about, the core is sticking around. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Can't hang your hat on the young guys. Can't hang your hat on the bullpen anymore. And for good reason, right? At least you got something for, you traded from a position of strength. So I'm not against that. Again, that was a good move by Buster. Team's going nowhere. You can't stand pat at the deadline. Pitching and defense, I don't think you can hang your hat on any of it. What is this team good at? What is usual about this team? What can you rely on when it comes to the San Francisco Giants other than unpredictability and disappointment and heart palpitations? I don't know if they're entertaining, but they are certainly engaging, maybe in the worst kind of way. Logan Webb's going tomorrow. It's story time. I wrote a column 2 or so months back, 3 months back now. Where does the time go? Logan Webb having an unbelievable season up until this point. I show up to the Giants Royals game on the 21st of May, and I'm very focused in on Logan Webb because he's starting and because I was very curious to see how he would do because the Giants were in a bit of a skid, right? Some of the shine was coming off after that wild April and a very it was a good start to May, right? So this is a team that, remember, not that long ago, this team was fighting the Dodgers for the division lead in the National League West. It feels like ancient history. It feels like 2021, but that was this summer. So Logan Webb takes the mound on the 21st of May against the Royals, and he gives up 6 runs on 10 hits, and the Giants lose. And my column after the game was that was a very inauspicious sign that the San Francisco Giants' unquestioned ace couldn't get outs and was frankly kind of figured out by a Kansas City Royals team that just laid off the sweeper. Not great that the Giants' ace wasn't able to stop the bleeding in that situation for the Giants. And that it led me to believe that 500 baseball was coming back because all the other signs were there. And one of the few things that was making me question if 500 baseball was coming back was, hey, at least they still have Logan Webb. Logan Webb's a fantastic pitcher. But a lot of people with the Giants got peeved at that column. They weren't happy about it. In retrospect, I got nothing. I'm not going to apologize. In the moment, I'm like, I might have been a little harsh, this and that. I didn't backtrack. There was no corrections or anything. It was all, my opinion on the page at that time. In retrospect, they looked pretty foolish, and it looked soft. It looked soft, them complaining to me and others about, hey, that was too harsh of a column. We're a really good baseball team and all this stuff. Let's leave it at that, and now let's fast forward. Logan Webb had a 6.18 ERA in July. Okay? That doesn't mean Logan Webb's a bad pitcher. He's still one of the best pitchers in the National League. Logan Webb's ERA from that game, which he entered with the 2.42 ERA in that game, to now has gone up almost an entire run. and almost an entire run. And thank goodness he had a good start against the Pirates the last time out, because it would have been up an entire run. So this is very similar to the same situation, except this team is now a 500 baseball team, and they're not really playing for anything. But here is the question. Logan Webb is a outstanding starting pitcher. Every team would consider him an asset, but aces stop the bleeding. Aces get it done when no one else is getting it done. They lead through example, and the starting pitcher is the only position in baseball, I would argue, that can do it single-handedly. I know Matt Cain might disagree. I know that Logan Webb might disagree on most nights with the run support that he gets. But aces stop the bleeding. They go out there and they shove, and if they have to win 1-0, they win 1-0. I know that winning as a starting pitcher might be this antiquated thought, but for an ace, it still matters to me. This team is bleeding. It is profuse. They might have already been bled out. They might be in the ICU right now. Wherever you want to call it, Logan Webb is taking the mound tomorrow against a team that he just had a good start against, albeit in fewer than 6 innings, only allowing 1 earned run, but he struck out 11 on the 30th of July. He just saw him. He's seeing him again. I need Logan Webb to do what he didn't do back in May when he placed the Royals. I need him to be an ace and stop the bleeding. And if he can't do that tomorrow, I think we can spend the next couple of weeks asking some questions about where we go from here and what the point of all of this is. And I think that there's a larger dialogue to be had. Logan Webb gets to either encourage that dialogue or shut it down tomorrow. Shut it down tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to the game, not because it will be fun or entertaining, but because it's going to tell us something, not just about this Giants team, which has to show some sort of fight, bounce back, zeal, punchiness, whatever you want to call it, after a embarrassing loss like that against a team that is bottom of the barrel that they can't beat. That's going to show me something about the team, and tomorrow's going to show me a hell of a lot about Logan Webb, who, again, wonderful starting pitcher, but is he a true number one? Is he a true bona fide top-tier ace in a world where there are very few of those? Or is he just a really good starting pitcher who would be a number 2 on a team with somebody like that? I don't think one game is going to tell us one way or another if that's the case or not, but this is going to be one hell of a data point tomorrow on if Logan Webb has those kind of stones. I think he does. I really think he does. I need him to show him tomorrow night. I got to see it. I got to see it. There's a lot of things that need to go right for the Giants tomorrow. There's a lot of people who have to wear the burden of this loss and turn it around tomorrow. But if momentum is as good as your next day's starting pitcher, how good is the next day's starting pitcher? We're going to have an answer for you on Sportsphone KNBR tomorrow night. And now we get to talk about Jonathan Kuminga. My goodness, the enigma that is Jonathan Kuminga on the other side. Kurtenbach until 9 on the Sports Leader.
This is Sportsphone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
Hey, we're back with you, the sports leader, Dieter Kurtenbach, until 9 p.m. Want to shift it to the NBA. Want to talk about something that, frankly, has been bothering me. I'm sure it's been annoying to you as well. This Jonathan Kuminga saga is unbecoming. It's unbecoming for all parties involved. And it's because all parties involved, the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga, his representation, the other teams in restricted free agency, all of them are acting with cowardice. All of them are afraid. And I understand it to a degree. Jonathan Kuminga is still an enigma. He is still a unknown entity. Could he be a superstar? Yeah, I mean, in his mind, sure. But there's no evidence on the court that he can become a superstar. And so everybody is operating with kid gloves. Everybody is holding back from going all in. Let's just run it down as it currently stands. Tim Kawakami, the tremendous columnist for the San Francisco Standard, had a report today. His sources say that Jonathan Kuminga will not be traded this summer from the Warriors. That is new information in its clarity, but not new information in the sense of he hasn't been traded. There was no indication that he was going to be traded. We can talk about it like it was going to happen, but ultimately there was no real movement, as far as I could tell from people I talked to, with the Jonathan Kuminga situation. Here's what we did know, or at least here's what's been reported, and I'm amalgamating. Jonathan Kuminga has a 2-year offer for $45 million on the table from the Golden State Warriors. Now, the second year of that is a team option, so it's not really guaranteed. And it would require Kuminga to waive the no-trade clause that de facto comes with that deal. It's a lot of NBA collective bargaining agreement mumbo-jumbo. Suffice it to say, it's not an ideal situation for Kuminga, and it's very favorable to the Golden State Warriors. So there's that. 2 years, $45 million. That's as far as the Warriors are willing to go right now. Now, the Sacramento Kings are very interested in Jonathan Kuminga. They think he'd be a perfect fit. And since Jonathan Kuminga, I'll say it, his future in this league is to be the best player on a bad team, the Sacramento Kings make all the sense in the world for him as an organization. The Sacramento Kings want to give Jonathan Kuminga a 3-year, $63 million deal. If he was an unrestricted free agent, that would be great for Jonathan Kuminga. You shake his hand, you say congratulations, you lead him on his merry way. You don't need to worry about it. Just go. Just go. Congratulations to you. Somebody bought you. Somebody bought the rights to Jonathan Kuminga. Congratulations. But it's not. It's restricted free agency, which means that they would have to put in an offer sheet. And with the new collective bargaining agreement and all of the aprons and such, it's like a kitchen in here, there would have to be a sign and trade. So the Kings are prepared to trade for Jonathan Kuminga, give him a 3-year, $63 million deal, give up Malik Monk, a solid bench player for a playoff team, can shoot the three. That's about it. But, you know, a solid veteran. Everyone likes Malik Monk. And a protected first-round pick. That's per Sam Amick of The Athletic. So Kuminga's looking at that and saying, let's do it, baby. And the Warriors are looking at that and saying, that's the best you can do? That's the best you can do, Sacramento? Meanwhile, and I'm reluctant to add this into the mix, but I do think the context is somewhat important. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns are interested in Jonathan Kuminga because they don't know what the hell they're doing down there in Phoenix. They went all in for a year. Now they're blowing it up. This is the joy of having a billionaire owner who now runs basketball operations for all intents and purposes. He's like the Jerry Jones of basketball, except he hasn't won anything yet, Matt Ishbia. The Suns are considering, have offered, I don't know, it's been bandied about, a 4-year, $90 million deal. The reason that, again, I'm reluctant to bring this up is because there's never been any dialogue about what that trade would look like. Because, again, of these aprons and the CBA and luxury tax, like, it would have to be a trade. So how the hell are the Phoenix Suns going to make the money work in a sign-and trade? So it's just, call that a wash. But Kuminga's at least looking at the market and saying, 4 years, $90 million, hell yeah, that's what I'm worth. And he's not wrong about that. He's not wrong about that. If someone's willing to give it to you, even in a hypothetical that could never come to pass, you're something close to that, right? It's not a true market, but it's kind of a market. And that kind of a market says that Jonathan Kuminga is very valuable to two of the worst teams in the NBA right now. To the Golden State Warriors, a team that fancies itself an outside contender at a title, as delusional as that might be, or as accurate as it might be. We'll find out. They'll play a season. The Warriors are saying we can't buy in on Jonathan Kuminga to that extent. We can give him the money. We just don't want to buy into him on that extent. We definitely don't want to go over some of these luxury tax aprons, and then there's certain things that they can't do in order to get Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton. I don't even know all the details, so I won't bore you with what I don't know and do know. If you're still with me, let's lay it on the line one more time. The Warriors are offering 2 years, $45 million, with a second year not really guaranteed, and asking him to waive his no-trade clause. That would come with a 2-year deal. The Kings are offering 3 years, $63, but they're not offering enough to the Golden State Warriors to get a sign-and-trade done. And the Suns are offering the most money, but have no reasonable way of giving it to Jonathan Kuminga. There's a fourth option on the table here as we head into the season. And the fourth option is that Jonathan Kuminga signs something called the qualifying offer. And the qualifying offer is something that is very rarely played on in the NBA, but has been in the past. It has been in the past. I believe Miles Turner played on it for Indiana. The qualifying offer is a 1-year deal that leads you directly into unrestricted free agency. For Jonathan Kuminga, it would be $9 million roughly. I'm sorry, $8 million, $7.9 million. $8 million would be the 1-year qualifying offer. And this is why I say that everybody involved is acting like a coward. Nobody really believes in Jonathan Kuminga here. Nobody wants to go all in because they're all too afraid of going all in on Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors don't want to go all in on Jonathan Kuminga. Their contract that they've offered is effectively a deal to trade him. They only want to give him a raise so that they can trade him. Now, if you play on the qualifying offer, you cannot be traded. Unless you want to be, but you cannot be traded because you have unrestricted free agency at the end. Again, a lot of minutia, a lot of ridiculousness. Suffice it to say, the Warriors want to sign him so they can trade him, whether that be in February, at the trade deadline, next offseason. They want to be able to trade him. They want him on the team, but they really want him on another team, but they want him to go to another team on their terms later. The Sacramento Kings want him, but they don't want him enough to put in a true, honest-to-goodness trade bid. If they really want Jonathan Kuminga, and it is a bit unfair, but ultimately this is how the marketplace is working here. If they really want Jonathan Kuminga, give up a first-round pick. Give up an honest-to-goodness first-round pick. Not some deal where, then it will swap in this year, and it will be the least favorable of Sacramento's, Real Madrid's, and ours in the year 2042 if Zoran doesn't come down and smite us all. None of these caveats, none of these restrictions, none of these binders. If you really want Jonathan Kuminga, put Malik Monk in the deal because he's taking the spot anyway. You're getting a starter, at least as they see it, for a bench player, and you're giving up a first-round pick in the process, and then you're signing him to what would be a reasonable contract for a starting player, the caliber of which the Kings think they're getting, or do they? So the Kings are too cowardly to go all in on the trade, and the Suns are here just to make people talk about them. But Jonathan Kuminga is a coward about this too. And I want Jonathan Kuminga to be happy and healthy and to get as much money as he can get in the marketplace. That is all of our rights as an American, all of our rights as someone who lives in America. If someone wants to give you the money, you should have the freedom to go take it. That is not how the NBA works, but I would like to see fewer restrictions on that working in the future. In the meantime, Jonathan Kuminga wants to go get the ball, play his style of basketball, not be encumbered by, rules and sets and plays and responsibilities and roles. He doesn't want any of that stuff. He wants to go to a crappy team and score 23 points a game and never win. That's what Jonathan Kuminga wants. That's what he has told us time and time again in so many words, with the way that he plays, with the way that he acts off the court. He just wants to be the man, even if that means he's a big fish in a small pond. That's what he wants. He doesn't enjoy all of this Warrior-centric team-style basketball and Steph Curry. He doesn't want any of that. He thinks he's Kobe Bryant incarnate, except he'll never win anything like Kobe Bryant won. That's what he thinks. And if he really, really thinks that, then he should play on the qualifying offer. He should take the $7.9 million one-year qualifying offer, and he should play out the year. Because I don't know what he could do between now and next year to truly, really, outside of injury, of course, what could he really do to hurt his stock? His stock being good enough that the Kings want to give him 3 years and $63 million, and the Suns want to give him 4 years and $90. What could he really do to hurt his stock between now and next summer? His concern is that the Warriors don't use him right, that the Warriors don't trust him, which they don't, that the Warriors don't believe in him, which they don't. All of these things have been true his entire career. If it continues, okay, that's not fun for the next year, but the payday's on the other side. Outside of injury, Jonathan Kuminga is going to have these kind of offers on the table again this time next year, and no one will be able to stop him from signing them. So sign the qualifying offer. So why hasn't he? Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Doesn't need to be done tomorrow. They're going to wait it out. But so will the Warriors, and so will the Kings. And this whole thing just reeks of cowardice. Jonathan Kuminga is an enigmatic player. No one really knows what it is he can and cannot do, but that includes him. And he talks a big game behind the scenes. He's a perfect gentleman when it comes to dealing with the media and all this stuff. I have nothing bad to say about him as a person. But when it comes to the business of basketball, that belief that he so pushes out, that his representation specifically so pushes out, isn't really there. Because this is a put-up-or-shut-up moment in Jonathan Kuminga's young, and hopefully for him, very long NBA career. And if he's pushing this level of belief, Steve Kerr doesn't believe in me, the Warriors don't believe me, if everybody's pushing that, and Jonathan Kuminga says they're wrong, call them on it. Call the Warriors on it right now. Meanwhile, the Warriors, they don't really know one way or another. I'm sure Steve Kerr would love to have Jonathan Kuminga on another team. He would love Malik Monk. He doesn't care about that first-round pick. He'll be gone by then. When Steph goes, Steve's going. When Steph goes, Draymond's going. Clay already left. I don't know how long Jimmy Butler's going to be here, but all the contracts line up. So Jonathan Kuminga's future doesn't matter to Steve Kerr, nor should it. Nor should it matter to the Warriors, but it does matter a bit to Joe Lacob, who's trying to figure out how the hell he's going to put butts in the seats, even with the mortgages you have to buy for season tickets, once Steph Curry is gone, which who knows when that's going to be. It could be 5 years. It could be 2. And Jonathan Kuminga is unquestionably a wonderfully athletic player. He can do some really cool stuff on occasion, but that is very good for and one mixtapes, highlight packages, people who watch the sport of basketball via YouTube. I know Joe Lacob watches full games. I know that he actually asks questions of the coaching staff, not to be accusatory, not to say he knows better, but to better understand. And yet he still has this affinity for Jonathan Kuminga that he can't get over. He can't do it. He can't quit him. He's still wondering if that enigma is going to work out for him. It's the Family Guy joke. You can have the boat, or you could have the mystery box. Well, the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. Jonathan Kuminga is the mystery box. And I'm telling you right now, everyone still thinks it might be a boat. It's not. It really isn't. It's not going to be. It never will be. There's a role for Jonathan Kuminga somewhere in this league, but the role that the Warriors need him to play is not one that he's willing to take on, which is foolish on his behalf, but that decision's been made. But Jonathan Kuminga won't bet on himself. The Warriors won't quit him because they're willing to ride this thing out. They're not going to take any sort of a discount in a trade. And really they shouldn't, but it is telling. They're not going to take any sort of a discount in a trade to move on from him. They'll happily continue this strange, bizarre, uneasy sense of everything that they have going on around him. It's not toxic, but it does unsettle your stomach a little bit. I'm not sick, but there's a little something happening in my tum-tum. That's what's going on here. And that's just going to persist as long as this persists. And even if he signs a new contract, that contract isn't meant to bring any finality. It's only meant, again, to be traded. So the Warriors can't fully quit him, so they're trying to find middle ground. And the Kings and the Suns and every other team that wants him, truly wants him, either can't have him or aren't willing to go all in to get him. Cowards, cowards, and more cowards. And it's not going to change. There's nothing that's going to change in the next couple weeks or maybe even the next couple months. Here's how I would solve the problem. If I'm the Warriors, I encourage Jonathan Kuminga to take the qualifying offer. I encourage him to do it. I dare him to do it. Okay. It's okay. If you believe in yourself so much, we have made you what we believe is our best offer. There's some wiggle room, of course. But the nuts and bolts of the best offer are on the table. You don't agree with it. That's your right. Play on the qualifying offer, and we'll see you at the end of the year. This is your final year with the Warriors. And maybe we can waive that no-trade clause about halfway through the season, though it'll be very difficult to trade someone making that little money. But maybe we can work something out. But in the meantime, go on your separate ways next summer. Bet on yourself, Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors aren't willing to bet on you. The Kings aren't really willing to bet on you. Not enough. So Jonathan Kuminga needs to bet on himself right now. And the fact of the matter is he hasn't done it yet. And I don't get the sense that he will. I think he's waiting for somebody else to make the decision for him. It's messy. It's uneasy. It's unnecessary, frankly. And, man, it's unbecoming. It's really unbecoming for all parties involved. I'm not a patient person. I'll give you that. I want some finality on this. I'd like to see if Al Horford and DeAnthony Melton can sign with the Golden State Warriors. Maybe there's some Gary Payton II in there as well. Those deals are being held up currently by the fact that Kuminga's contract, whether it be the qualifying offer or this 2-year deal for $45 million, hasn't been signed. Like, they need to get that business done first for accounting reasons. I'd like to see this roster. I'd like them to train together come September. And I know it's just August 4th, but we're like a month, 5 weeks away from this team needing to play basketball together. And they don't have a roster. They haven't made a move because nobody is willing to bet on Jonathan Kuminga, including Jonathan Kuminga. Something has to give. Something has to change. I don't think it's going to be the Warriors. They're too afraid. They're operating on a basis of fear. They can't go all in, but they can't get rid of him for nothing. The Kings don't feel strongly enough about it. And Jonathan Kuminga ultimately has to make this decision. And he's not willing to bet on himself the way that he could with that 1-year qualifying offer. Something's got to change. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know who has to make the decision. Kurtenbach with you until 9 on The Sports Leader.
The nighttime is the right time for Sportsphone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
We're back with you, the sports leader, Dieter Kurtenbach, until 9 p.m. Let's talk some 49ers football with the great Jake Hutchinson. Dieter and Hutch podcast. Wonder how we booked him. And, of course, the Hutch Report on Substack. You can subscribe right now. 49ers making some moves in training camp a little bit earlier than expected. But first and foremost, Jake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. It's talked to some coaches.
Great, buddy. You look fantastic. What's going on?
I appreciate that. Just got a new camera set up, so I no longer look like a ghoul.
And we both agreed to wear our off-red sweatshirts today. Do you have any blue baseball caps as well? We should just go.
No, I can find one. We'll get to that later. I'll do a wardrobe change.
Sorry, you were saying, Jake, that you were talking to some coaches. What stood out to you when you guys talked to coaches on Sunday?
Yeah, it's tough because it's been only, I think, a month since we talked to them last. So you're trying to gauge how much of this stuff where they're blowing up the rookies and talking about how great they all are, and you're trying to like parse through what's real and what's not. I did get an interesting quote from Johnny Holland, who said that D. Winters,
this is linebacker coach Johnny Holland,
right? Veteran Johnny Holland's a great dude. He's been through cancer, awesome dude. But he said D. Winters is a better one-on-one coverage linebacker than Fred Warner. Fred Warner being the like unquestionable like number one linebacker in football, like has changed how linebackers play coverage, has redefined the position.
Yes.
Johnny Holland said that D. Winters is a better one-on-one coverage linebacker than Fred. And so I said, what do you mean? Like, what do you like? Really? Like, is that true? And he clarified to say essentially that yes, while they're both great. They're two different guys. I think Fred is longer. He can play longer with tight ends. D is with the quicker guys, the running backs and stuff. D's better probably at that. And Fred is longer getting his hands on guys. So Fred is better with tight ends. D. Winters, he doubled down, better than Fred Warner at covering running backs. And I kind of get where he's coming from. D. Winters is a smaller guy, but we're talking about Fred Warner here. Like,
okay,
it's crazy high praise.
Let's give John. I'm going to go in on Johnny Holland, which I don't look forward to doing here, but it will happen in just a moment. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt on this. Fred Warner does do long coverage better than anybody. And when we're talking long coverage, we're talking north-south on the field. It's to the point where Steve Wilkes back in the day is like, let's just use him as our free safety. It's what he did in college at BYU. Like, it was why he was an off-ball linebacker when he came into the league. They moved him to Mike, and yes, he totally redefined what a Mike linebacker looks like. Was that probably a natural progression that was going to happen anyway in the league? Sure, but he's the poster child. So I get where he's coming from in that Fred Warner is better on straightforward, straight back coverage, relatively, than anybody else, and that his sideline to sideline, while exceptional, is not as good as that. And D. Winters is very good sideline to sideline, covering the flat, covering the hook, all these things, but is not going to have that same depth. So, sure, he's better at it, and that is what is asked of an off-ball, specifically a weak side linebacker, to handle those things. This is now the part where I go, what? What are you talking about? The guy who couldn't beat out Devondre Campbell for a job last year is somehow better in coverage than Fred Warner. When did that happen? Could have used that last year. Would have been a pretty useful thing to have on the field for the 2024 San Francisco 49ers. And this is when I just go, listen, I think Johnny Holland's great. I think he does a fantastic job coaching linebackers, which is his job. And he never has to talk to the media. And I kind of made a pact to myself after the last time he spoke that I wasn't really going to listen to what Johnny Holland said to the media, because Johnny Holland is a perpetual smoke blower. He's somebody who pumps up his guys, never really had the downside. I'm sure he had wonderful things to say about gentlemen who might have already been cut on this team as of a day ago. So, wow, that is a statement and a half, but I do think it signals something. I mean, D. Winters is not getting pushed for this weak side linebacker starting job by anybody.
Johnny Holland also said he wouldn't be shocked if D. Winters played 90% of the snaps, which is essentially, as we knew, he was going to be the whale, but like he's pretty much locking that in. Of course, the question would be, D. Winters was always injured every other week last year.
Right.
He's added strength theoretically, but is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to? And you would ask that of especially Nick Martin, the guy they drafted to be in the mix too. Like, is he going to stay healthy? And he doesn't have a long injury history, but he is a lighter, smaller guy.
Well, he missed the entire 2024 season. So there's recent injury history. And yeah, he's what, 5'10, 5'11, 220 pounds. I mean, in the not so distant past, he'd be playing safety. He'd be playing free safety. He'd
Right.
be considered small for strong safety. So, I mean, it's having Talanoa Hufanga at weak side linebacker, which I
Right.
guess you could have made the argument would have been a decent idea, but he played,
Yeah.
effectively Sam. That's a whole other thing. I'm
Yeah.
not bullish on Martin. I've made that clear. They're very bullish on Winters, and yeah, I mean, I there's plenty of reasons to like him, but can he tackle effectively? We'll have to find out in preseason or later. And can he stay healthy? And that's not something we're going to find out until it's too late.
Yep. And with Martin, again, it's something where we'll have to see it in the same way. And when it's clean for him, like you see him flying around, the speed was not something that was ever in question. He flies around, he is aggressive. It's a question of when there's some bigger guys attacking him at the second level, can he get off those guys effectively? And will he be able to master the playbook both at Sam and Will simultaneously, which are you in your head, it's not really that different. The assignments are different though. Like it is two different positions for a rookie. So we'll see how he navigates that. Robert Salo is optimistic, but it is different.
I really question if Martin can play Sam, because Sam is a position that requires a bit more size. And if you're
Right.
going to play a 4-3 under, you're setting the edge as a fifth lineman, as a Sam linebacker, which is why I think Luke Gifford, who we all thought was just signed as a special teams guy, is probably going to slot into that spot. And as much as we kind of roll our eyes because the NFL is mostly a two linebacker league these days, like the 49ers do play a lot of base because they play a lot of teams that run their system. It might not matter against Arizona until James Conner runs over your face, but like it does matter when you're playing Seattle. It does matter when you're playing the Rams because both of those are wide zone schemes. And I think the Rams are going to play a lot less 11 personnel than they have in years past, necessitating to a degree more of a heavy base set. And we know Salo likes to play base. So as nuanced and particular as that sounds, like who's going to be the Sam linebacker, it feels like such a flimsy thing to talk about here. But like that's an important role. That's one of the only real questions on this team. I got to ask you about a place where there's a lot of questions though, which is the defensive line. And you and I were at practice on last Thursday, and we watched a lot of one-on-ones. It's not the most indicative, but it is somewhat telling. We got to be fair about that. CJ West is out here giving guys the business every rep, getting me chuckling like a schoolgirl on the sidelines. I mean,
he had one rep that was just outrageous.
It's the best. It's so much fun to, one, be vindicated in our love for CJ West, a collective love for CJ West, and two, to watch somebody at the NFL level just destroy his peers. It's fun to watch Trent Williams engulf any defensive lineman who comes his way, even Nick Bosa. It's fun to watch Nick Bosa kick some third stringers at. Like, it's fun to watch that kind of domination.
Or the first stringer.
Or the first stringer, yeah. I mean,
or the first string right tackle.
For sure. And I will say this about Colton McKivitz. He got his licks in afterwards, and Colton McKivitz looks very good. I think Colton McKivitz is going to get paid a tremendous amount of money.
It is. I think people have a perception of Colton McKivitz from a few years ago and didn't really update it based on last year because it's not sexy to say that your cheap right tackle in a down season actually had a pretty good year. But that's what was the case. Like Colton McKivitz played pretty well. Was he like elite? No. But he was pretty good, and you didn't really have to worry about him, and you're basically paying him peanuts to play right tackle for you. And that's kind of what they're trying to find with Austin Pleasance behind him, who Chris Foerster is extraordinarily excited about.
And we've talked about before. I mean, he looked really good in minicamp and OTAs for whatever that's worth, and now that the pads are on, he's repeating it, and he probably even looks faster. I'll note this. We'll get back to defensive line. seeing Spencer Burford play left tackle, which is a pretty brilliant move by Forrester, not necessarily because he's the left tackle of the future, but because it will give him a lot of reps at tackle during camp because Trent doesn't practice because he's Trent Williams, first ballot Hall of Famer. And so they're just going to give him a lot of reps. Doesn't mean he's tied to left tackle. Doesn't mean he's not the swing tackle, but he's going to get the reps. Same with Pleasance getting plenty of reps on the right. So in that, I saw Burford on a pull, right? Classic 49ers wide zone screen pull. My goodness, can that fellow move? It was a joy to watch him out in space. I see the vision. I see the vision on Spencer Burford.
He set up Isaac Arendo for like an 80-yard touchdown because it was Isaac Arendo basically, I think it was just a toss sweep, and Isaac Arendo took it 80 yards because he got the one block from Spencer Burford, but Burford was hauling.
He was 30 yards up the field, and you're like, wow.
He was moving.
By the way, with Isaac Garendo behind him, Isaac Garendo, who is one of the fastest players in the NFL, and Garendo positively showed some patience, and now here's Burford moving, and I don't remember who the safety was. I'm going to guess it was Richie Grant, just loosely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richie Grant, if I'm slandering you here, who's looked great in camp. But I'm going to guess it was Richie Grant, and Richie Grant stood no chance. That's the kind of stuff that I love watching. Let's swing it back to McKivitz real fast. He reminds me a lot of somebody else who did not have a good rap coming into his career and beat it out. Colton Miller, tackle for the Raiders. I thought Colton Miller was awful his first couple of years when the Raiders were still in Oakland. And maybe that was a personal thing, but like you watch him and you're like, this guy is awful. And it was fair to say that about McKivitz for a good stretch. That first year, it was a tough scene.
Yeah.
Last year, McKivitz can make the argument he was the most consistent lineman outside of Trent Williams, even more so than Pooney.
Even though our friend Chris Forster said Jake Brendel had the best center performance of any center since they've been here, which is another mind-boggling quote. And again, I love Chris Forster. I still can't quite wrap my head around that.
Yeah, that's the game might be rigged in that way. But
yeah, McKivitz was extremely reliable. He was healthy and solid, and like, did he allow a couple sacks? Sure, but like he wasn't getting bullied around. He wasn't lost out there. He was doing his job, and he was pretty consistent at it.
Well, I'll also note that Colton Miller just signed a 3-year, $66 million deal with the Raiders.
Well, there's a reason that Colton McKivitz fired his agent.
I think that's a very good point. Like, I think that this is a comparison that I haven't heard anyone else make it. Maybe it's just because they look similar. Maybe that's just lazy on my behalf. But there is a familiarity there. Tall guys can move pretty well in space. Absolutely sucked the first couple of years. And they couldn't beat out that reputation, but the reputation didn't follow them into the negotiation room. And I imagine the same will be for Colton McKivitz, which is why you need to be working multiple tackles during this camp. Now we can get back to defensive line. CJ West looks incredible. I think Bryce Huff on the other side is going to give you something. I'm not sure if it's going to be what everyone said it would be. There was a lot of hoopla that came out when they first got him. He's a very good player. He provides an element that they didn't have. I think Sam Aquanu is a great depth option there. Michael Williams, if he can stay healthy, is the absolute truth. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Then we get to Alfred Collins. I don't want to go hard on Alfred Collins. It's August 4th. It is early. He didn't get any of the spring. He's coming off a foot injury, and they're asking him to do something that he's never done before. But I didn't see any pop when I laid eyes on him, and it sounds like that's par for the course at this training camp.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming sentiment with Alfred Collins right now, I mean, literally, Saleh said he's behind the 8 ball because of the injuries and all that stuff. When we talked to Forster, I mean, Kasurek last time, one of the biggest disappointments of yesterday was that Kasurek was not there. So we couldn't ask him about Alfred Collins, where you could see on the field, he's coaching everyone, and then Alfred Collins comes up, and it's a different type of coaching. It's like a much more detailed, much more, hey, this is what I need from you, and I need it right now. And he does that in every camp. He sort of picks a guy, but like you can tell Collins needs it. And that's not necessarily a knock because again, he's been injured and he's coming into a totally different system where at Texas he was two gapping and he's just asked to hold up in the run game. Now they're asking him to split and shoot gaps, which again, maybe it works out, but that's also you're taking a player who's good at one thing and you're sort of asking him to do a totally different thing, which takes a lot of projection and could be a courageous, bold choice that works out. We don't know. But for right now, he's a guy that can play in the run game and has no real clue what to do in the pass game, at least as the 49ers are asking of him. And I don't think that's going out on a limb. That seems to be the clear sentiment. And just when you watch, he's got a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of strength, but again, they want him to attack and then rip through at the top, and he doesn't really quite know how to do that.
He doesn't have the hands for it. He has the hands to hold the gap, and you see that when he comes out of his initial burst, which is not exactly, DJ Jones firing off the line. I don't know what his broad
and he gets
is,
low for a guy as long as and as big as he is.
Well, and that's the one thing that I'll say for him here. There's a usefulness to what he can do currently. I know they want him to be something else, and he may or may not get there. And I'm not saying that this will justify the selection in the second round because that was a boom or bust play for them. You cannot teach his size. You cannot teach his strength. But if they want him to do what they're asking him to do, they might have to wait a while. In the meantime, the dude can deliver power from a very low set, even being 6'5". So when he comes out, he stays low and he doesn't lose any power by, trying to stand. Like he's got they coached him well at Texas to do that. He's capable of being a really solid run defender as it stands, but I'm curious on if that's something they'll bother using in the meantime.
I think when you talk about last year, we talked about one of the biggest issues was their defensive tackles would either get upfield and be easily cleared out of the play, where their hyper aggression allows guards to just turn their hips and then say, all right, you can run 5 yards into the backfield and you're completely out of the play. Or when they're just actually trying to hold their gap, they'd be displaced by 5 yards in the other direction. And it's that displacement that creates gaps and lanes for running backs to cut back through and create explosives, which were a problem for the 49ers. Absolutely. I will say for Alfred Collins, he's got the size and weight and strength to avoid being displaced. That in year one will have significant value to the 49ers if that's all he can do. But if that's all he can do for his career, it's a whiff at that selection.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything about Jordan Elliott, by the way, this entire camp.
Not much. Yeah. Meanwhile, he was their best run defender that Kyle Shanahan said last year, which I found confounding.
Can't divide by 0. I mean, it's brutal. There is a lot to be figured out on the defensive line. I think you and I are both bullish, though, that there's enough to work with there. They might not have that top end talent outside of Bosa, but they can rotate. Like they'll be able to rotate. They're going to have to cut somebody who's useful.
Yeah, and because we didn't have Chris Kasurek, I asked tight ends coach. I think he does run game coordination now. Yeah. Brian Fleury, about Michael Williams and the whole front. And he's like, from a run game standpoint, Michael's had advertised. He's going to be a great edge setter. But what really stood out is him as an interior pass rusher. And he said the whole front just feels different. Like it feels fundamentally different with Saleh and the fact that you have Bosa and Huff on the edge, Michael from the inside, and then whoever else at defensive tackle, or whether that's Okuanu. Like you've got some real malleability with that group. And not just malleability, like they can produce, or they should be able to produce.
It's one of those positions, and there will be a couple of these on this team, that if it doesn't look good early, an impatient person, am gonna be like, we're gonna take a beat. We're gonna wait and see on this, because that's not, with all of that malleability, it doesn't feel like something that's going to be molded into a finished product before October at the earliest. And so not encouraging, right? A lot of people have talked, Jake, about, oh, the schedule is so easy, and it is. It might be the easiest schedule in the last 10 years in the NFL, but it's not a gimme. It's not like they're, playing Abilene Christian here. Like, there's still NFL teams on the schedule, and it's front loaded. It's not hard on the front, but it's front loaded. And we know that Kyle's teams, I know that they're all big on, hey, we're going to treat training camp seriously this year. Injuries might have not allowed that to happen. Funny how that works with an older team, at least at starting positions. Kyle's teams in the past have treated September like the preseason, and I haven't been there enough to make this a definitive statement, but I get the inkling as it stands today, talking to people, seeing them a little bit, that September might be a bit of a preseason for this 2025 edition as well. Do you get the same feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole NFL, but September has just become a preseason for everybody. But yeah, this team especially, it's so many young guys. It's this weird mix of so many old guys and so many young guys, and a handful of like veterans in between, but like clearly one of the oldest rosters in the NFL, but also relying so much on these rookies to hit right away. And what's interesting is like, right, if they start off slow, like they can be fine in terms of making the playoffs, but they might be in real trouble with the division because they have, I think, 5 of their 6 division games pretty early on in the year by like week 10 or something.
They'll have played everybody by week 5. I mean,
yeah, they have
Rams
and then the Seahawks are the last game of the season, first and last, which is still baffling to me.
Listen, if it brings back the rivalry, I'm all for it. And you're going to get, those are probably the best times to play the Seahawks, right? Because I don't know if Seattle will have fully gelled. They got a lot of movement, right? They got a new quarterback. Mike McDonald is trying to take his defense that really started to pop late last year with that pass rush. They found some guys. They made some moves, the linebacker particularly, and it started to look good. And now they're adding in a whole new crop of young guys. It strikes me as, okay, they might have a higher floor this year, but their ceiling's even higher. Yeah. That's not something that's going to show up in week 1. And by week 18, it might be there, but they also might be so injured that it doesn't matter. So for either team, right? Like you don't know what anything is in week 18.
And their offensive line has been a nightmare, and they're basically relying on Gray Zabel, a kid out of North Dakota State, to solve it. Right.
Well,
week 1,
moonlighting is Gray Zabel, so that's
week 1 is you are moonlighting as Gray Zabel. Oh my God, that should be your. If you go up to Seattle for Halloween, you should just.
It was to the point that when we saw my family on vacation over the summer, my wife showed a picture of Gray Zabel being introduced as a Seattle Seahawk, and my mother went, "What is this, AI with Dieter?" No, it was just Gray Zabel. We're like, ooh, South Dakota. That's where
tough.
we're all from. They create a singular.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so tough if I was getting paid like Gray Zabel.
Man, not bad. I did meet a man at a wedding this year who's from the DMV. He's a huge Washington Commanders fan who looks identical to Kirk Cousins, and that. Like identical. And I was like, do you ever get, and he's like, looked over at his girlfriend. He's like, it happened again. Like jarringly. Good guy.
Did you ask him, this is great content here. Did you ask him how it felt when Kirk Cousins left the now Washington Commanders?
I think
a win for him or a loss?
Well, we were too busy. He was telling me about the Hogettes. Are you familiar with the Hogettes?
I am familiar with the Hogettes, yes.
I was learning about that history where it was a bunch of middle-aged men who would dress up in pig costumes back in the day. So that occupied most of the conversation.
The Hogettes is also
pig costumes and dresses, to be clear.
Correct. It's also the name of a series of women I dated after college. It is. Listen, we go through phases. And with that, we'll take a break. Kurtenbach and Jake Hutchinson back with you in just a jiff on the Sports Leader.
Sportsphone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, we're back with you, the sports leader, Dieter Kurtenbach, and we're talking to the great Jake Hutchinson of the Hutch Report and Dieter and Hutch podcast. We've always loved his 49ers analysis here on whatever the hell we're calling this show. Tonight, Jake, the 49ers made some roster moves today. They're not uninteresting, right? Most of the roster moves that happen in training camp, especially around now, right? These early maneuverings, it's all like 80 to 90 on the roster. It doesn't matter. Today's roster moves mattered. There's a couple of names on here. Let's just call it out. These are the Larry Krueger All-Stars. I mean, this is everybody that Larry's been talking about on Niners Nightly and on the Krug Show. The Niners, let's start with who they cut, because that's more interesting. They cut Trey Avery. That's interesting. It's interesting that they cut Trey Avery. I thought Trey Avery looked okay and had a chance. Seems as if Dallas Flowers, a player of which I don't think anyone has 5 minutes of material on at this juncture, has won sort of the depth corner job. Darrell Luter and Dallas Flowers come on down.
And Trey Brown.
And Trey Brown, the other Trey. So we're down. We had 3 Treys at the beginning of OTAs.
Trey Tomlinson's still around. He might not be there. They might have down to 1 Trey.
That's right. They went from 3 to 1. So it is Uno Avery. I guess it would be Uno Brown is the only one left. No more Trey. Isaiah Nayer, who was getting rave reviews from people who don't understand football and had never watched Isaiah Nayer before, because Isaiah Nayer, if you were to pick on a playground, would probably go first overall. You'd be like, oh, that guy looks like Megatron 2.0. Football's not his game. I hope he finds it. He might be a great volleyball player, water polo, I don't know. But football's not his game. And he was cut today. Tanner Mordecai was cut today, which is interesting.
After they brought in Gus Bradley's son, Carter Bradley.
Who, by the way, can kind of spin it, right? Like I watched
he's
Carter
kind of
Bradley,
fun to watch.
And there was some real zap to it. It's an interesting choice to get rid of Tanner Mordecai today, given that Tanner Mordecai seemed like he would have had a pretty good opportunity in the preseason to make some noise, right? As a guy who you're going to play in the second half of preseason games, I would venture to say that the ability to run away from a pass rush is a pretty valuable skill to have in the second half of a preseason game when they're bringing me out of the stands to play left guard. And Tanner Mordecai has that. So we'll see if Gus Bradley's kid has any chance of standing up against that, and how much we're going to get of Mac Jones in the preseason. Feels like it's beneath him, but it isn't, because he's the second string.
No, he'll play.
Mason Pline, a player who never really stood much of a chance. He's a former basketball player at Furman. There was some extrapolation that was unfair to him, that, hey, they could turn him into something. You watched him play. He was just, it never
people like, remember Antonio Gates? He played basketball too.
Yes, I remember Hall of Famer Antonio Gates,
Right.
Antony Gonzalez. I
will say, Dieter, you're burying the lead here. Maybe
I am
intentionally.
burying the lead. They cut Greg Joseph, the kicker, and that means that Jake Moody is the kicker for the San Francisco 49ers. And this is way earlier than I think anyone expected the kicking battle of 2025 to be formalized and decided.
The funniest
right?
part about this is it comes like literally 2 days after everyone on the beat was like, the kicking competition is heating up. Jake Moody missed a wide left field goal, and I think
Brant
they
Boyer
said
talked at the podium, and so everyone had to write the same sort of thing, which is, and by the way, Brant Boyer, who's doing a wonderful job as the new special teams coordinator and has a lot of new interesting things that they're doing out there, answered 12 straight questions about the kicking competition and like one about punt returner, and then left.
I asked about Brant Boyer because there's special teams, is coming up, and I asked Brian Fleury about him. I was like, he seems like he cares about special teams more than any human in recorded history. And he said, I think the impression you have is probably accurate.
What an interesting way of saying yes.
Yeah, he said, no, he went on more. He said he's fun to work with. He's gritty, all that. But yes.
We've talked about this before, Jake. Like, I really enjoy watching their special teams drills because now, I've been covering the NFL for, has it been 15 years? Yeah. Not ideal for your boy, but I've never seen special teams practiced like that. In fact, I don't recall most special teams practice is this. They get out the jugs machine and they're like, we're going to do kickoffs. And then a bunch of guys line up and then they run down the field. And it's like, good job, good coverage, right? Like, we figured out kickoff. We're going to do punts, move the jugs machine up and have the punter stand back there so he can catch the ball, but not kick it, just catch it.
Exactly.
That's how you practice special. Line up for the field goal block. Just lined up. That's all it is. Special teams, most special teams coaches practice lining up on the field. And by the way, half of them can't even get that right once the game comes. Brant Boyer's out here like working on tactics that might actually help them win on special teams.
I think it will. I think it's going to be important.
Hidden yardage.
And I was watching a long snapping practice where Jake Moody and Greg Joseph were using it was basically
a dummy on a track.
Yes, it was a dummy on a track with John Weeks, who's a specimen of a man, practicing long snapping.
It's delightful.
Incredible.
So they were like pushing the dummy at him. It was sliding towards him, and then he'd snap it, and then he'd back up. He had these like hop. It was great. Football's incredible. Are you surprised? I mean, I'm terribly surprised that they made the decision on kicker today. Like, it almost feels like it's tempting fate.
Yeah, I'm surprised in the fact that Jake Moody could get hurt, and then you're like, well, why did we get rid of Greg Joseph? That's the part that's confusing to me. But maybe they really thought that. I think they wanted to. I guess they want to just evaluate some actual players in these joint practices, and maybe they think some of these guys have a real chance of making the team. That's the only thing I could think of. But like cutting Tanner Mordecai and Greg Joseph, it's pretty interesting, especially before you're actually going to have real contact against another team.
I can go galaxy brain here for a second. They might just think that they can keep him at the Hilton for a week or so and then bring him back if these other guys don't work out, and that they just had a need at defensive line. They added Bradley Anai. You got anything on Bradley Anai?
Yeah, I remember him. He's from Utah. He was not my favorite prospect, but he was pretty strong, if I remember. One of those like tweener guys, if I recall correctly.
So he'll be a great 49er if that's true. Nobody loves tweeners more than the Niners. They're looking for a line of Draymond Greens. Bruce Hector, defensive lineman.
Idea.
Bruce Hector. Neither do I. Jalen Mahoney, who has been cut and signed by the 49ers so many times, I'm starting to feel like it's a personal.
Like he's the new Dante Johnson.
It's like an Impractical Jokers episode. They're just really messing with this guy. It's a long practical joke. No, come back. No, it'll be fine this time. It's like, dude, just go sign with another team. Like, get out of this toxic relationship. Fabian Moreau, I believe UCLA,
Yeah,
Fabian
that
Moreau.
sounds right.
Covered him in high school back in South Florida. He was a hell of a prospect. 3-star Cypress Bay High School. Fabian Moreau's a decent enough pro, been around for a long time. Depth corner, outside only. And then Isaiah Prince, who started, and I wouldn't lead the resume with this, but he was a starter for the Bengals offensive line that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams. Remember that offensive
Oh
line
my
that almost
God,
got
you're
Joe
right.
Burrow killed? Yeah, he was a starter for them.
Oh my
He's
God,
on
yeah.
the
I knew
49ers now.
I knew he sounded familiar.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
I wouldn't say that any of these gentlemen are going to make the team. I would guess that Isaiah Price is around because Andre Dillard isn't, and no one's
Yeah,
can
he's
really quite say
been just
why.
taking a long time to recover. I feel like it's going to be hard for him to make the team at this point.
And then Mahoney, just
Safety.
basically they have so many injuries at safety and defensive back that they just need somebody for the second half of preseason games. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're just trying to fill out the roster with guys
Yeah.
that they want to play in the second half of preseason, and that frankly, not all the guys they cut, they're like, we're not going to play you in the second half of the preseason,
Yeah.
so why bother keeping you around? Let's try.
I think that's spot on. I think they just said we need bodies at positions that we don't have them at.
Yeah.
Let's go get them.
I mean, it is interesting. I mean, they've decided Fabian Moreau is better than Trey Avery, like that.
And they are short at wide receiver, and they said goodbye to Isaiah Nair. So
yeah, well, they did sign Robbie Chosen, who has been chosen
correct.
to show up for a week or so again.
God, I can't believe he's still playing.
Well, he kind of isn't. He's on a roster, but that doesn't mean he's playing football, and they are paying him for it. But that won't be the case come the end of the month. Though I do think he latched on what Tennessee at the end of last year.
Yeah, I mean the 49ers had him on the roster at some point last year, I think.
Oh boy, it got that bad. That was a redo of 2020. 2020, there was a lot of randos on the end of the roster. What's been the biggest surprise to you, Jake, so far in camp? Could be a positive, a negative, something in between. Like what has surprised you the most?
Yeah, I think that I'm not. I mean, maybe it's not a surprise because we've talked about it, but like I'm not really worried about the offensive line. I think it's going to be fine. I think Ben Barch is going to be a nice addition at left guard. He's going to be a sneaky upgrade over what Aaron Banks was at least last year. I still don't understand that contract that he got, and I know he's probably not going to get all of that money. But like he was bad last year.
Speaking of Colton McKivitz, right? Colton McKivitz is like, you mean Jalen Moore got how much money as my backup, and the guy who was playing at left guard and was unquestionably the weak link got $77 million. Yeah, I'm going to get a new agent.
Yeah, I think Barch is going to be good. I think Brendel's going to be fine, and they have some actually decent options behind both those guys. Cooney is going to be fine. Kivitz is probably going to be fine, and Trent Williams is even as he ages, like he's still going to be great. So I'm not worried about that group, and they all.
You're not worried about the five. Are you worried about the depth at all, though?
No, well, that's where I'm coming from. Is I think they're pleasant. I pleasantly surprised with Austin Pleasant.
There you go. Best in the business, folks.
I think they like Drew Moss. Nick Zakel is like can do both. They don't seem to be excited about Connor Colby because you can get a good word on everybody else, and it's hard to find one on Connor Colby. And then Spencer Burford,
you might be worthy of taking a victory lap here. I remember when Connor Colby got drafted, and you were like, Dieter, I'm the only one who watched between the two of us. I don't see it. I don't see any of it. And
maybe I'll be wrong, but
I mean, yeah, maybe. You hope for his sake that we're wrong. I didn't see it either after I watched it. And what I find laughable is the analysis of people being like, oh, well, he played in the system, which is kind of true. They played a lot of inside zone at Iowa, not a lot of outside zone. But, every NFL team is multiple these days. If he's from the system, so it'll be an easy translation. Why did he suck in that system at Iowa?
And he was a
why was
top
he bad?
10 percentile athlete too. And he couldn't do
fine.
it then.
Make that the argument. Make that the argument of like, oh, they couldn't teach him at Iowa. They have bad coaches. Like, but the argument was no, they have good coaches at Iowa. And it's like, then why is his tape dog blank? Like, why is it every time I watch him, he's flailing as somebody runs past him in a conference in the Big Ten that I'm not terribly bullish on overall with talent? Like, I'm kind of a
Yeah.
Big Ten hater. So,
Yeah, he's
tough
a
season.
tough
Why do
watch.
they like Drew Moss?
They
Why
like
do they like
Drew
Drew
Moss
Moss?
because he's strong and stout. And while he doesn't have like the length and the range, he can move pretty well. So I think the fact that he can do both, and Chris Furster said yesterday he thinks he's going to be a really good center in his career. And
Interesting.
he's a right guard right now, but they're trying him at center, which has probably got some growing pains. But he did seem bullish on him and really was excited. But I think the biggest revelation of camp is CJ West, because we've both been high on him, and he's really
awesome.
wreaking havoc.
He's so much fun. One other guy I want to throw out there, would be remiss not to mention him. This is a rookie who's going to start. I don't think there's any competition for Upton Stout at Nickelback.
No.
And I see it. It didn't take much. The dude has violence in his heart, and it doesn't matter that he's an itty bitty feller. He has violence in his heart, and he was apparently, struck up a relationship with Kwan Williams. He was watching the Teach tape. I mean, Robert Sala's trying to run back the 2019 49ers defense. I think Upton Stout is their Kwan Williams, and that comes with a lot of positives and a lot of negatives.
I was talking to their new, I think he's DB's coach, Ray Brown, who's great to talk to, and he said Stout's like going through like 2018 and basically he's looking at Jimmy Ward, he's looking at Demo, and he's looking at Kwan Williams, and he's like comparing himself to those guys, and he's like, I'm going to be better than all of them, and he's like insane in the meetings, and he's almost trying to learn too much.
Yeah, he's pushing it a little hard.
That he's just like he's basically like, well, right, he'll have like one thing wrong in practice, and he's like, I got to fix everything, and they're like, do one thing a day, limit yourself to one thing a day. And Russell Gage was like apparently laughing because he was like, I don't know what to expect from him. Like, he switches up his stance and his approach every single snap. Like, I don't know what to do. So
I liked watching him, and you could see it immediately. I think that I'm sure they could rotate some guys in there, but I feel bullish about Upton Stout. And given that, things are not going great with Collins right now, and given that, Williams hasn't been able to really stay healthy, Michael Williams hasn't really been able to stay on the field consistently, and I don't think Nick Martin's going to see the field outside of special teams. Like, it's good that they have a 5th round win. Like, that's a very, what was it, pick 100? So, like, it's good that they have that win. That's important.
4th round, I think, 100.
4th round, yeah, pick 100. Like, they needed a day 3 victory, and I'm sure there'll be more, and I'm sure that, what is happening here on August 4th won't translate to the rest of these guys' career, good and bad, but that seems to be a win as it stands right now, and I think every team kind of has that, right? Every camp. Some teams it's a wide receiver, but like,
and he's got the job. Like, it is clearly his job. It's Demo and Renardo Green and Upton Stout, and then Sala goes, I have no idea what the rest of it looks like. We'll find out. Guys are still interviewing for jobs.
Avery. Yeah, it might be Fabian Moreau. I mean, Darrell Luter and Dallas Flowers seem like the depth guys.
Jacob Robinson seems to be having a good camp, but like, he is a backup slot, so it's like, is there a spot for him on the roster?
That'll be interesting. They're still trying to figure out its safety. Feels like there's a higher floor than maybe we gave it credit for at safety, right? Like, it feels like Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock give you something there. We know, Jair Brown's going to get a shot. Like, it doesn't feel like those guys are not worthy of being NFL safeties, right? Like, you could start those guys and you don't feel great about it, but you're also not like, we're in big trouble today. So there's that. It is, Jair Brown's going to get another shot. There's still a lot of talent there with Jair Brown. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm not betting on him, but the Niners can't cut him yet. And then Marquise Sigel, who is a player that the coaching staff's very high on.
God, they can't stop raving about him, man.
I'm fascinated to see what that looks like in preseason. Like, he might be the most interesting preseason player for me.
Totally. I really can't wait to see it because, again, I asked Brown again and said the communication's great, and that basically he's beating the coaches into every single meeting. Like, they're like, he's like, are you going to eat? Literally,
I
he's
mean,
the first one in the room before the coaches have prepared and is like
yeah.
grinding tape, which maybe that's performative, but like he is discernibly obsessed with watching film and understanding the situations and seems to like know what his job is, which for a safety is probably the hardest thing to learn. Is that translating on the field? I saw a couple plays that I liked. I can't pretend I was watching him every single play. I've been at one practice, right? So
Right.
I don't know what it's looked like day to day, but they're still extremely high on him. We'll see when Mustafa comes back, but I cannot wait to see him in the preseason against an actual team.
Well, and I think that Thursday's practice against the Broncos, the reason that the 49ers have changed their practice field so that they can host these damn practices, these joint practices that Kyle Shanahan has been so bullish about. And they had to cancel last year. They were so injured and the vibes were so bad, they had to cancel their dinner party with, I don't even remember what, to the Chargers last year. They're like,
It was
we
the
can't
Raiders,
even
I
go.
think. It might have been
Raiders?
known as the Saints. Is the Saints.
Saints. Random. We're just going to do a joint practice with it. We have to cancel it. Regardless, they're going to do it this year. By all accounts, it's going to happen on Thursday. And as much as I want to see Marquis Siggles, as much as I want to see some of these rookies, as much as I want to find out what these guys are about, it'll be really interesting to see the 49ers offense against a Denver defense, which is unquestionably one of the best in the NFL and has coverage ability like few others have. This wide receiver room, Jake, is a big question mark. I'll tell you exactly what I want to be talking about on Friday. I want to be talking about Ricky Pearsall giving the Denver Broncos defense the business, because that would be very encouraging for an offensive preseason that hasn't had much encouragement outside of offensive line looks fine, Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Like I need that. I need that one extra thing here, and I need that to be Ricky Pearsall.
I'm with you. I think Pearsall needs to show up, and he looked good in the one practice we saw. They seem optimistic with him. Again, he's got to be healthy. He's just got to be out there, and I think the results will come. I do, before we get out of here, and we're talking about the joint practices, have to mention probably one of the funnier, interesting quotes that I got from Johnny Holland yesterday, because I asked him, Dre Greenlaw, who had like a minor injury but seems like he'll be good to go. I was like, "Are you excited to see Dre?" And he goes, "Yeah, but I'm not excited to see him practice against the offense." He goes, "Dre's one of my favorite players, and I just hope the best for him. And I hope he doesn't do anything to hurt our guys on offense," which is about right for Dre Greenlaw.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, Jake. Here's my take. I think that the 49ers' inability, let's not call it them passing, because they tried like their damnedest. I think their inability to re-sign Dre Greenlaw will end up being the biggest win from their offseason. What he commanded from Denver, I'm very happy for him. He certainly earned it in the past. I doubt that he comes close to ever validating the contract the Broncos gave him. I get why they gave him the contract, but yeah.
I think just from a health standpoint, it's hard to be bullish. I mean, it's hard to find. Like, we love Dre. Like, he's an
unbelievable player,
incredible, outstanding player. And if he's healthy, like he'll be worth what they paid him. But to believe that the way he plays and what he's been through already physically, that he's going to hold up over the length of that contract, I hope he does. I hope he does. I'm just not confident that's the case.
They paid him for 17 games plus. That's the kind of contract where it's like you need every game. There's some contracts where you're like, like George Kittle's contract. I know it's top of the market for tight ends, but George Kittle's so important to this team that if he played 14 games a year, you're like, that's good
and
value
tight ends
for the
are
Niners.
Basically free. Like that, those contracts are still so low in the grand scheme of things. Who cares if you're paying top of market? You haven't been able to replace him.
If this team had an elite safety and they were paying him, like if they had Derwin James, it'd be like Derwin James can play half a year because of the way that safeties are paid. That is a full 17-game contract that Dre Greenlaw got, and I have very serious doubts on if he'll be able to play 17 games at Dre Greenlaw level at any point for the remainder of his career, and very much hope that I'm wrong. And I hope we can have you back, man. You're the best. Love you, Jake.
Appreciate you.
The incomparable Jake Hutchinson, Dieter and Hutch podcast, The Hutch Report on Substack for all of your 49ers needs. We're going to call it a day. We're going to say that's all. Hell of a show. Hell of a good night. For Jake Hutchinson, Kyle Haar, I'm Dieter Kurtenbach. We'll talk to you after Giants baseball tomorrow.